U.S. military missions worldwide are in the spotlight this morning. Thousands of troops are deploying to Eastern Europe, and new details have emerged about the Afghanistan evacuation, as well as reports of civilian casualties surfacing in Syria following a counterterrorism raid. Now, we have team coverage this morning, beginning with David Martin.
Crumbling concrete and rubble is evidence of the deadly U.S. Special Operations raid carried out overnight in Syria. It happened in the town of Atma, not far from the Turkish border, an area of northwest Syria known as a hotbed for terrorist organizations. Reports from residents on the ground say the raid lasted 2 hours and involved helicopters, explosives, and machine gun fire. In a statement, the Pentagon said the mission was successful, which should mean the target was killed or captured. There were no U.S. casualties, but a defense official said one helicopter broke down and had to be destroyed and left behind. According to residents and activists, U.S. troops used loudspeakers urging women and children to leave the area. There was at least one explosion. It was the largest U.S. raid in Syria since the 2019 operation that killed Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who blew himself up rather than be captured. The Pentagon has not yet identified the target of this raid, although it comes just days after the Islamic State staged a major attack on a prison camp which holds some 3,000 of its members. For CBS Mornings, David Martin.
Our team coverage picks up at the White House, where Nancy Cordes is standing by. So, Nancy, we've got sort of three different topics to talk about. We will start with this counterterrorism operation that we learned about overnight in Syria. Scant details, but what do we know so far?
Well, Emery, at this point, we're learning more from human rights groups on the ground than we are from the U.S. military. Those groups say that about 13 people were killed, including as many as 4 women and 6 children. And some very graphic pictures are emerging from the area. Now, as David mentioned, all the Pentagon will say in a very brief statement from overnight is that the mission was successful. They don't say whether there is an individual or individuals who they were looking for that were killed or captured, though we do know that this is an area of Syria, the northwest area, Idlib province, where U.S. Special Forces have gone after al-Qaeda leaders in the past. So that is an indication of who they might have been going after this time around. We do expect we'll learn more from the Pentagon today and possibly from the president himself about the ultimate goal of this operation.
All right, so on to Afghanistan now. There's a leaked document out there, and it's shedding some light on the administration's, frankly, lack of preparedness on Afghanistan. What can you tell us about this document and what it reveals?
Right. So this is a multi-page memo that Axios first obtained, but though CBS News has since gotten a copy as well. Minutes, essentially, from a National Security Council meeting here at the White House on August 14th of last year with top U.S. officials from across the government. And this was one day, just for context, one day before Kabul fell to the Taliban. So a very tense time. And what these minutes suggest is that top U.S. officials were still figuring out some basics about the evacuation just one day before the fall of Kabul. They were talking about needing to identify transit points for evacuees to go to on the way to the United States. They were talking about wanting to alert Afghan workers at the U.S. Embassy that it was time to inform the U.S. government if they wanted to be relocated to the United States. So things that you would have thought had already been discussed prior to the fall of Kabul. Now, what White House officials are telling us is that, look, these are administrative minutes from just one of many meetings that took place over the course of months. Many of these things, they say, had been discussed before. That's not reflected in this note that is really just a snapshot in time. Beyond that, they've always argued that no one could have expected that Kabul would fall so quickly to the Taliban.
All right, Nancy, thank you very much.